Hey, good Sunday evening to everyone. I hope you're doing well. Today is Sunday, March the 24th, 2024. Guys, we're coming on early a little bit tonight because we have a group of guys from Florida that we really wanted to talk to tonight and talk to them a little bit. Man, I'm looking forward to this show. I can't wait to hear what all these guys have got to say. But for right now, I am going to bring on my partner in crime, Mr. Whaley. Whaley, come on in. Hey, bud.
Hi, everybody.
I hope so, because it's been a beautiful day. Hey, Miss Joanne, I'm so glad to see you, girl. How you doing? It's been a while. Anyways, we got another person that's out there in the chat room that I've learned about, and I'm so glad she's here. Miss Not So Perfect Bigfoot Show. I will be subbing to you after the show and come check you out. I couldn't find you the other night, and I just heard about you again a while ago, and I'll be glad to come check you out. That'll be fun. But anyways, guys, without wasting any more time, we've got some good guys from Florida, and I can't wait to hear these guys. Anyways, our first guy up is Mr. Richard. Come on here, Mr. Richard. Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Good, outstanding. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. I'm doing just fine. How about you introducing your crew here?
Well, the team consists of myself, Jimmy Barr, and Bobby White, and Mike Velez.
Okay. All right. Well, the first one we're going to try to get on here is Mr. Jimmy. Let's see how he's doing. Hey, Jimmy.
How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing good. Doing good. You doing well?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for the invite, by the way.
Oh, no. Hey, I appreciate you guys coming on. We really do. We like to have fun with this kind of stuff. All right. Your other guy made it. Let's get him on here. There he is. He's in the dark. Hey, Mr. Bobby.
Fix that. How you doing?
I'm doing good, bud.
That's a little better.
Yeah, I forgot to turn my overhead light on. It's probably a good thing so it won't shine off my old gray hair. So, guys, which one do you want to tell us about your group tonight? Who wants to start off with it?
Go ahead, Richard.
No, Jimmy, you tell them about because you and Bobby were the founders of the group. Start from there.
There
Go
you
ahead,
go.
Bobby. Nobody gets to hear from you very often, Bobby.
Well, we started the group. Me and Jimmy had joined another Bigfoot group out of Ocala. We've been friends for 30 plus years, and we unknowingly both joined the same group at the same time and kind of came back together in that aspect. It was a mess. It was a mess. We couldn't get anybody in the group to go out with us. We found out later that they were being told not to. We were getting sent to wrong, improper locations. So this is where this happened. Go check this out. And being sent all over the county to inappropriate spots. And we caught on to it pretty quick, and we decided to quit and start our own group. So for quite some time, it was just the two of us. And then during Kerry Arnold's 168, Mike Velez came in, and we decided to add him to the group. And shortly after that, Richard came in, and that's kind of the basics of it, really.
Okay. Yeah, they was doing y'all wrong right off from the get-go, wasn't they?
Yes.
Ah.
Yeah. Everything that came out of the guy's mouth was a lie.
Really?
And we were catching on to it and questioning him a lot about it. And he didn't like that, I think. And that's why, because of that, he didn't trust us. And that's why he was telling people, the other people in the group, that he was sending us to false locations. Because he didn't trust us. But he didn't trust us because we weren't believing what he was saying.
Yeah.
You know, so
you called
we
his bluff
removed
on it.
ourselves. yeah, we removed ourselves and everything was much better. Everybody in the group eventually left and caught on to his antics, except for one. So,
Yeah. Well, that's okay.
um,
That's all right. I've seen some of y'all's videos, and it seems like you guys have a good time and working with each other out there in the woods, and that's great to see good camaraderie like that. That's sometimes a team you got to be able to work well together. You know what I mean? So,
yep.
so have any of you guys ever seen one or heard one? Is it what's got you interested in Bigfoot? Go ahead, Bob.
Uh, I saw one a couple of years ago. Um,
Uh,
Daytime. It was kind of a road crossing sighting, except I was crossing his path. He wasn't crossing mine. It
Oops.
was 10:30 in the morning. I'm driving down a two-lane highway, and there's roads everywhere. Being a truck driver, I always look down when I coming on a crossroads. I look down, and I look down, and there he's standing 30 feet in the road. It was a mining road. It was gated off, and he was probably said 30 feet, 30 yards on the other side of the gate, just standing there in the middle of the road. I was actually on the phone with Jimmy when it happened. And I locked up the brakes and I'm like, dude, you aren't going to believe what I just saw. Um, it's close enough, daytime. I know what I saw. It was entire, everybody wants, yeah, maybe it's a hunter in a ghillie suit. Well, he was on posted property and he was big. It was 8 to 9 feet tall, 4 foot in the shoulders. I don't know how people that big.
Yeah.
So
And I don't
um,
know a ghillie suit yet that's either brown or black. You know what I mean? I don't know what one.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And this was black.
Yeah. Yep. Did you get to see
Uh,
the face any at all?
I did not. I did not see the face. What I saw was looked like a black Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner standing there. Just huge. Just absolutely huge.
Okay. Did it move on you any at all?
It didn't move. I passed. I slammed on the brakes. By the time I got out and got back there, it was
Not to,
gone.
yeah. Well, it moved.
Yeah, I hopped the fence, went looking. There was a lime rock road, didn't leave any tracks, and
Yep.
I didn't
Oh,
look
that.
too hard because honestly, I was pretty scared. So
Well, you was
I,
in a
I,
big
I
truck,
didn't.
man.
Yeah, uh, but yeah, I didn't look too hard. I went looking to see if I could see anything, and I just couldn't. It was gone.
Yeah, and you know you good and well. You won't. You can't just walk out there and find it again because it's long gone. You know how it goes.
It's long gone, and like I said, I was a bit nervous and unarmed, and I didn't care to go off into the woods looking for it.
It's a.
So
It's a little bit different when you by yourself, ain't it, Bobby?
it's a lot different when you're by yourself.
It's a different kind of a. I ain't gonna say fear or feeling, but it's different. It's just different.
Yeah,
You know, when you're with a group of somebody, okay, you can be a little brave, but
I,
by yourself,
I,
mm-mm.
s- I sent Jimmy a picture, one of the two, of where I was at that had my location before I hopped that fence to go back there. And I'm like, if you lose me, call the police, send me to this location. So
I tell people if something happens to me, beware well that I didn't commit suicide, guys.
right, right.
Oh lordy! All right, Jimmy. How are you doing, bud? You've been sitting back here being quiet.
Yeah, I had to move a couple times. I was outside, then it started raining, and I went inside, and it stopped raining. And I went back outside, and it started raining. Uh, so I put up the umbrella back out here by the pool.
Uh oh.
Uh, so I've been bouncing around.
Okay. I'll tell you what, Jimmy. Let me kind of save you for last for just a little bit because I know what you told me earlier, and I want to hear about Richard. What got him into this?
He said 2005 in the skills. that kind of led that journey of I said, starting out, just researching as much as I could. You know what I mean? But it's whatever, there's an article on Bigfoot or a TV show that can make that up as well. It's really become a fabric of what life is about, just researching and stuff, and just like everybody else. As time went by, um, I had in a roundabout way got Jeremy and we were talking on the phone, texting, and stuff like that. Um, and at that point, I had created a dream sheet for people I'd like to meet. When there's few people on the sheet, and at that time, and Jimmy Barr was one of those on the sheet, and tried a few times to reconnect with him and stuff like that. And then we just like, we can't even touch with him, I can touch with him. But Jimmy was all in the podcast. I mean, I can't remember the podcast it was. But anyhow, he saw me in the chat and said, "Hey, I'm doing the call." So Jimmy did call me and ended up going out with those guys and just having a blast and having a good time. Great guys. And that kind of got the ball rolling into being in the field, boots on the ground research.
Okay, sorry about that. I had to take my guy out because I was getting where I couldn't hear you. You know what I'm saying? Let me text him real quick.
I'm having time hearing Bobby.
Bobby's been perfect. Bobby's been perfect.
I was also having a hard time hearing you, and as soon as that guy dropped out, you came through loud and clear. You might have been having the same problem I was, Rich.
Probably.
Yeah, you guys go right. Jimmy, won't you tell your story real quick while I'm taking care of this, if you don't mind?
Well, back in 2005, I had reconnected with a buddy of mine I was stationed with in the military. And at the time, he was living in Palm Beach County. So I had just moved back from North Carolina. I was an avid deer hunter and spent a lot of time in the woods. Got to talking to him, and he was an avid hunter. So we were going to get together, go out to a location that he was familiar with, and just kind of scout around, check out the area, and prepare for the upcoming season of deer hunting. And so I drive over there, and I remember getting to his house, and to this day, I don't remember why he couldn't join me. It was either he got called to work or his wife had something else for him to do. I cannot remember now. But he couldn't make it. He was like, "Man, I'm sorry you drove this far," and blah blah blah. And but he told me where the location was. He said, "Look, you pass it coming here from Sebring, and I'll tell you where it is and stuff." So we sat there on a map. Back then we had regular maps. 2005, I wasn't using Google Maps or anything like that. It was MapQuest mostly, if you remember that. Mm-hmm. And so anyhow, I knew exactly what he was talking about because I remember this big forested area when I was driving in. And so I decided to hit it on the way back home. So he told me this one area where to enter. And so I found that area, and it was a long gravel road, very long. I remember driving down it for, quite a ways thinking, okay, this thing is not ending. So I started looking for trails, just anything that I could pull over and check out. So I found this really large, probably it was an older fire break or something. It was a pretty large trail. And so I pulled over, got out of my truck, and started hiking it. Now remember, I'm just scouting. I don't have a backpack. I don't have a firearm on me, no water. I'm just walking. I'm just going for a hike, try to find any signs of deer, a good area that we can, look at, possibly checking out later to see if it's viable for hunting season. So I'm walking. I probably got about at least a half a mile down this trail, and ended up coming to one of those berms that, like four-wheelers make in the woods. It looks like, the sand starts piling up. So I decided to climb on the top of that, which only increased my height maybe 3 or 4 feet. But I wanted to climb up to the top of it and just look over the surrounding area, see if I see anything. So when I got on the top of that, I looked down, and there's this really good animal trail right there at the other side of this berm. So I go down to that trail and start following it and going further into the woods. and it was going through a pine forest, and then it finally opened up into a field of palmettos, just a huge, probably 100 yards across, just this really flat open area, very sporadic pine trees. It's just wide open area. And so I started to go through, kind of zigzagging around the palmettos to get to the other side, to re-enter the pine forest on the other side of this area. So I get about halfway through it, and probably, I mean, almost in the middle, probably give or take 10 yards, but I was halfway through it. And the whole time I'm looking down, because I'm looking for prints. I'm looking for anything that tells me deer are passing through here or anything like that. And as I'm looking down and I'm walking, this massive, loud scream, just this unbelievable yell. And it was fast. It was like a whip. It just, bam, it just, this loud. I couldn't reenact it if I wanted to. It was just, it was loud, and I felt it. I felt it inside me. And I mean, literally the second it happened, my head came up and I turned around. I didn't stop and look. I didn't, what the heck? Fear just took over instantly. It was just instant fear. So I turned around and just started walking back in the direction I was coming. This time I'm not zigzagging. I'm a beeline right back in the direction I'm going. And I left half my soul in the dirt where I was standing. I mean, I was just gone. I was heading out. I'm getting out of here. And I had this internal voice, my mind was telling me, don't turn around, keep walking, and don't run. If you run, it's going to kill you. Whatever it is, it's going to kill you. Don't run. And which we're taught, throughout the years, with uncles and stuff like that, hunting, that if an animal does approach and is aggressive, you don't run from it because you become prey. You try to be calm, stuff like that. So that's what I'm trying to do, is walk out of these woods alive. And as I'm walking out, to my right and to my left at 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock, it literally sounded like somebody was dropping sandbags. Just that deep, just dull thud,
Yeah.
It was coming from my left and coming from my right, but behind me. And so I kept hearing this, and I don't, when I go back and look at it, I don't remember when I stopped hearing the footprints. See what I'm saying? I just remember once I got into that pine forest, I just kept walking, I didn't go back to the trail that I came in on. I just kept this beeline, walking through anything that was in my way. I'm staying straight because I knew the road was ahead of me, because at that point when I was in that field, I was probably a mile from my truck. So it was about a half mile to the berm, probably about another half mile in when I got into that palmetto field. So it was a long walk back, and it felt like forever. The whole walk felt like I'm never going to make it. I finally came out of the pine forest. I'm on the dirt road. It's an old white gravel road. I look to my right and I see my truck, and it's probably 200-300 yards up. So that's when I start, booking it to my truck. Got in my truck, turned it around, and left. And that was the end of it. I was done. It wasn't until later I was talking to Kerry Arnold when he mentioned that this thing could have been right in front of you, because at this point I was unaware that this thing's crawl on all fours. See what I'm saying?
Yep.
So him telling me that these things can walk on all fours and spider crawl and stuff like that, wow, that just brought a whole new level of fear. Because now I look back on it going, oh my God, this thing could have been on the next bush ahead of me, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And his theory was it saw me, I didn't see it, and I was getting too close. And at that point, it wanted me out of the area. That's what he used to tell me. And but I don't know. It was a crazy experience, and that kind of set the wheels motion in my head. I never did deer hunt after that again. Still haven't deer hunted since. I'm very I get a lot of anxiety when I go in the woods, even to this day. I definitely, the guys know it too, I feel way more comfortable with somebody else with me. I do go out by myself, and I don't hide the fact that I'm nervous about it or I feel anxiety about it. I had no problem saying it out loud, because I'm just going to tell you the truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And up there definitely makes me nervous. Even to this day, it makes me nervous. So when I'm with Jimmy or I'm with Bobby or I'm with Mike or something like that, you feel a lot more comfortable. They got your back. They're not going to hightail it and leave it there. You know what I mean? We're going to deal with that issue head on, and it makes you feel comfortable, makes you feel better and stuff like that. So um, I do go armed. You know, it's not something that I advertise. It's not something because I know some of my subscribers might be kids and stuff, but I do go armed, and that's not for Sasquatch. Just to make it clear, there's a lot of things in Florida that can hurt you, and give you a very rough day. So we go out there. We're just prepared for anything that may happen. You know, but it's always like I said, when you have a team and there's guys with you, it makes you feel a lot better. You know, you tend to go further back or do things that you wouldn't do by yourself.
Yeah. Before we get to Jimmy and his story, I want to kind of talk a little bit about that. Uh, oh, there's some other people come in here. Hey, Junior, how you doing? Nick Saban Jr. That's my brother right there. That's my man. Yeah, he's a football guy, man. I love him to death. So if you're into Alabama football or recruiting and stuff, that's your man right there, man. Spencer, my other brother, he's come on. Brian Barber, good to see you, man. I don't know exactly who you come here, but I'm glad you're here. Miss Joanne, and let's see, Cap and Cage Free. He's crazy. I love him to death. He's kind of got to be my little buddy. And Todd Colbert, glad to see you. But anyways, I want to talk about this, and this is for any one of you guys. It doesn't matter to me. When you was talking about that coming up behind you, and it was something speaking to your head, do not turn around. You know what I mean? To me, that's that spider sense that you get. And I've been through that. It's like you don't want to turn around because you're afraid if you do turn around, you're going to see what's behind you, and that ain't going to be good. Yeah, I don't know how a man will respond, but I've experienced it. It's not a good feeling. I'm gonna tell you that. Carrie,
keeping me calm and telling me, don't turn around, just keep what you're doing, keep walking. It was keeping me focused on what I needed to do.
Yeah, and what I was trying to get to there, you say you go around armed. I understand. But there is a question I wanted to ask you guys. That's going to lead me into that. Let me go ahead and see if I can bring him back on. Rattlesnakes. Are y'all not ate up with rattlesnakes in all them palmettos and such down there?
Well, we have, I think, 5 different species of rattlesnakes in Florida, but we never see them. We don't come across snakes very often. We come across alligators, snakes.
Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
I was just going to say, actually, where we go, just about every wildlife management area we've been in, there's actually been a lack of wildlife in the area. It should be teeming, just full of billions of lizards and squirrels and rabbits, and we literally just don't see them. We've seen probably 5 or 6 deer, 2 or 3 hogs. There's a lot of hog activity, but I think we've seen 2 or 3 snakes since we've been doing this. It's just where it's supposed to be full of wildlife, it's lacking wildlife.
That was a big question, especially when I got to talking to you guys. Y'all got some of the biggest rattlesnakes as anybody. Those timber rattlers down there, if I remember correctly. And I sat there and I watched some of y'all's videos. Y'all was just going right through them palmettos, and I was sitting there thinking they can't see 5, 6 feet in front of them. There could be a snake at any time.
We can't see 6 inches in front of us sometimes.
Yeah.
Me and Bobby, when we were up in the Ocala area, we both damn near stepped on a water moccasin. I mean, we're 18 inches at the most away from it, and it was just coiled up, and it could have cared less. It laid back, coiled up, opened its mouth. I was trying to move it with my walking stick, and it didn't want to bite or anything. It was just like, you just go on your way and leave me be. The lack of wildlife has us just really, we should be paying attention, but the lack of wildlife has us not paying attention. We're always looking down, but we're never seeing any signs of what you think should be out there.
Yeah. Here's another question I have. Even for Alabama, and Kentucky and all these other places that have Bigfoot that we all know they're there, I have often wondered, they travel at night a lot of times. and so are rattlesnakes. They don't go to bed at night, and it makes me wonder: does Bigfoot ever get struck by a rattlesnake? And if it did, would it even affect it?
Yeah.
Yes, about a possum. Possum can't be killed by a rattlesnake or moccasin. It's incredible. So that, you know, um, I would assume that a creature like that maybe just built up some kind of level of immunity against that. You know,
Do,
ice.
do
So,
do you think maybe the fur or the hair or whatever might actually stop? Might be, I'm going to say, thicker than what the fangs can go through? Because you know they got to step on them every once in a while.
It,
Got to.
it could be. It could be too that their bites literally you're just immune to them. When I was younger, we used to raise dachshund dogs, and they could get bit by water moccasins. Their throat would swell up big, but 2 or 3 days later it'd go down. We first time we took them to the vet, and the vet said water moccasin can't kill that dog. So that, and like Richard said, possums, snake bite won't hurt a possum. So there's the possibility they step on him and get bit all the time, and it just doesn't bother them.
Hmm.
Maybe they're immune to their venom, or maybe the snake can't sink his teeth in.
It
Well, they
could be
don't.
just like it. It could be just like anything else in the woods too. It seems when they are near, everything knows and it
Everything
goes
moves.
quiet.
Yeah.
So maybe the rattlesnakes are like, yeah, I'm not messing with them. I'll go this way instead of that way. I mean, everything has a pecking order in the food chain. Um, and I would say they're probably at the top of the list up there. Um, so it could be that they're immune, or that just the rattlesnakes and other snakes don't want any part of them and hide.
Do you think, and guys, that's the reason I brought this question up because you guys are down more where you could actually really get bit behind them palmettos. You know what I mean? Um, do you think it's possible that the vibrations of their walking uh, might have something to do with it? Maybe to run the snake off in a different direction. Is that possible?
Maybe.
there's
Yeah,
a possibility. You know?
Yeah. All right. Well, that's kind of what I had a curious mind about. But anyways, let me get on. I wrote some questions for you guys. I don't hardly write questions. I usually fly off off the cuff. Uh, you were okay, Richard.
Yes,
Either one of y'all, matter of fact, uh, sticks. You had mentioned the sticks in one of your videos. I believe it was one of your more recent ones. Uh, I don't know if it was over hose or stuck in the ground or something like that. And there's a reason why I'm asking this question. Could you expand on that? Why you got to look out for sticks?
well, a couple of times in the past, me and Jim and stuff moved them out. And the first time was what we thought was like a structure. And I crawled inside of it, and inside of it was a hole with a stick, probably the width of another two pencil. It looked like something was digging in the hole looking for something. Took pictures of it and stuff, and showed it to Jenny and everything. Then a couple of weeks later, we're at a completely different location. And we're all walking this field, and we get to this other location. And sure enough, in the middle of this field, there was a hole with another stick in it, same size, same diameter. There's nothing that they put in. Um, I think there's something significant to it because I've watched other researchers' videos like Andrew Harrington and stuff like that. They're running into the exact same thing. They're saying they're finding these small holes and they're finding these sticks in it. There's different theories. Are they breeding for grubs or something like that? Some theory is I think juveniles and just kind of left it into just kind of have fun, play, or whatever, and wait for the adults to come back, something like that. I've heard it all, but there is definitely something significant about it. And I remember I was going out and I was with another guy, and I remember telling him, keep your eye out on any holes with sticks in it because that could be something significant. And but that's what we're doing is trying to find these little signs, these little things that said this might be a significant area to start researching and start looking at things and stuff like that. So I think the sticks are significant.
Oh, yep. I'll tell you something here in just a second. I never got into Bigfoot stuff, so my question is: there's more than one Bigfoot. Anybody want to care to answer that question, or shall I?
Yes, there's at least two.
Yeah, there's at least two. There's for sure. Yeah, to answer your question, Junior, there definitely you have got, and that's one reason I got these guys on is because of the skunk ape. Uh, oh, okay. I apologize, guys. That's actually David wanting me to send the link. I can't send the link through. I can't. Well, I can't do it right now, anyways. But anyways, I think y'all know David. David Sadati. I don't know if y'all have heard of him.
Yeah.
No, Richard
Yep.
has.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Dave's a good dude.
Is it? Okay. Good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I met him here at the Ocala conference.
Yep. Okay. Yep. I texted him y'all would be on tonight, but he's kind of texted me a little bit late for me to try to send him any kind of link. But anyways, what was sticks or more than one Bigfoot?
Find larger sticks shoved into the ground, stuck right into the ground. I was finding them on a regular basis, and that stopped. We went to this one area and went further back. Jimmy found a very significant one that was probably the largest one I've ever seen, and it had to been a good 3 inches across, 4 inches across. It was a pretty significant stick, and it was shoved into the ground underneath a tree that had all these branches zigzagging. If there's no way this thing fell from the tree without bouncing back and forth, hitting these branches and stabbing straight down, especially through the leaf litter, because Jimmy tried to push it back in, and it's just impossible. That leaf litter was got to be 3-4 inches thick. That was a very, very good find right there. But we do find larger sticks, probably like a broom handle size, just shoved for no reason.
Yeah, I talked to him. Well, I better not say. He might not want me to repeat that. But anyways, Jimmy.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question.
Go for it, man. I'm an open book, so knock him out of the park.
All right. The possible print on one of your last shows, how'd that turn out?
The possible print on one of our last shows. What you mean?
Well, y'all come across a possible print, and there was leaves in the what you might have thought was a footprint, and I think it was at the camping site that y'all usually go to or something like that. Y'all had some experiences. One of you guys had some eye shine on the phone.
Yeah, that was on Richard's thing when we were all out at I think when Johnny Two Bears was down. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How'd that turn out?
Turned out pretty good. It was fun. It was cool networking with other researchers and getting to see Johnny and Lloyd and working with them. Good guys. Came down, had a good time. Went out, found some, possible prints. I mean, they couldn't have been anything else. I mean, they were, foot impressions, barefoot impressions. We got dirty, scratched, and cut up getting to where we got to just to get there. People aren't walking barefoot out there, man. But they were smaller, kind of more feminine like imprints in the mud. There was 3 of them. Bob, you know what I'm talking about, right? When it was me, you, and Johnny and Lloyd, we were all back there by the mounds, and Richard was back there too with us.
Yeah, they were feminine because they had high heels.
Yeah.
Well,
and
we also found those prints like 30, 40 yards behind where me and Richard's tent were. We found that track with 3 or 4 prints on it. So
yeah,
there's a couple of occasions that day we found some prints.
I mean, I was back out there. I was back out there today. I was back out there about a month ago, where I was explaining to my son my theory on the cypress, where the cypress are in the water, and then when you look at Google Earth, in the middle of the cypress, there's some different trees in the center of the cypress. They're different trees, and they're greener, which tells me that the ground's higher in the middle of the cypress. So I was telling him that my theory is I think that they probably are in the middle of those cypress, because no normal, sane human being is going to trudge through, waist deep water with gators and snakes just to explore. And as I was explaining to them and getting him out and showing him, there were literally the same size prints that I was talking about, those feminine, like 8, 9 inch prints coming out of the water from the marsh, 3 of them in tight rope, probably, I don't know, 24 inches, 24 inches apart. They were 8 or 9 inches though. They weren't very big, but they were coming out of the water and they were impressions. And I was like, I just got through telling them, I mean, I was like, I feel like they're probably in the middle of these cypress during the day, because in the middle of the cypress, almost all of them have a higher ground. There's different trees that are growing in the center, different canopy, which tells me that they're not water trees like cypress, you know.
Mhm.
But in that same area, you know, we've had um, just that kind of stuff where we find prints and we find this. I mean, when we came out of the wood line to get to the truck, and right before we came out in the open, there was a wood knock, which is where I left my recorders at last Thursday, and I picked them up today. Um, so, I mean, when it came to the prints and whatnot, um, we've casted some. We've casted some. We've casted some really unique prints that kind of had Bobby and I scratching our heads. What is this? When Bobby and I first got together in Ocala, and we researched Ocala to death, just south of the bombing range, and we would get into this area where it looked like, Bobby and I always describe it as like 2 transformers having this big fight in the middle of the woods. The woods are just torn up, 3.5, 4 feet high. The trees this big are snapped off just everywhere you look. Lots of
Yeah.
hog activity in that area as well. Outside of the destruction of woods, there's no hog activity, just on the inside. But these trees are broke 3.5, 4 feet up, big trees, and lots of. Sometimes it seems like the trees that were broke were placed, not fell, and we were finding X's in this destruction area with all this destruction going on, and we. First, I would think that my theory was the X's were there, keep out. But then, to me, that didn't make sense. I'm trying to humanize what they would do. But besides, I would put keep out on my fence way out there, not on my front door. And then with all the destruction of the trees and the trees looking like they were placed, certain trees were laid in certain ways. It started making sense to me that this might have been, in my theory, and it's probably the best one that I came up with, that inside this area where there's all of this hog destruction, where we found 17-inch 3-toed prints, several of them, that these X's look different than trees. If you're in the woods at night, every tree looks the same.
Yeah.
But what doesn't look the same at nighttime are X's. And if you can see at night and you're running your prey somewhere, the X's seem to be a place to drive them to, which would be where all this debris on stuff is on the ground that acted like obstacles to slow prey down.
That
And
makes sense.
well, what we found was a trackway of 3-toed prints that went up to a really big X. It went up to the right of the X, to the right side of the X, to the right side of the base. It pivoted to the left, walked around it, went straight behind it, and the tracks disappeared behind it. It mowed down everything in its path, but it got to that X and it stopped and it walked around it like it meant something. What it meant, we don't know, but it could have just walked right through this thing. These weren't trees that fell and stabbed into the ground and leaned up against anything. These were trees that were this big around and stabbed into the ground. You could pull them out of the ground. There were no root balls. They weren't rotten. They were stabbed into the ground. The amount of strength that it takes to stab something that big in the ground is insane when you can't stab your finger that far into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, just
So,
go ahead.
what it would just, the prints that we found up there had us scratching our heads because they weren't what we were expecting. They're huge. They're 3-toed, and we found 15-inch and 13-inch prints 3-toed as well. And this is up in Ocala. We didn't know what to do with that at first, but we casted them, and held on to them and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, there's a problem, with Jeff Meldrum. I'm sure you've heard of him, or might even talk to him. They don't like to uh, even entertain the idea of a three-toed. I already figured that part out, but I understand what he's trying to do. You know what I mean? So, but down south seems like to me like you take the oh, jeez, all right. Whose foot is that? Yours or Richard's?
That's the three-toed print.
Oh, show it. So hang on a second. Hang on. Just hang on a minute.
So it's
Hang on, Jimmy. Just hang on. I want everybody to get a big O. I don't know why I done that. Hang on a minute. Jimmy, just be patient with me just for a second.
I'm patient. I got all day.
Man, sometimes I'm an idiot. You know what I mean? There you go. That's about as big as one I could get right there.
That's the three-toed print. This toe right here, man.
Yeah.
This thing right here, the pad of the toe. Just the pad of the toe. That's about 3 inches. This print, it's 17 inches from the heel to the toe. From toe to toe, it's 10 inches. And across the heel, it's 7. We found several of these in this area where all that destruction happened. Um, and we also found 15-inch and 13-inch three-toed as well. Um, there's something out there. We're not saying this is a Bigfoot, but we're saying there's something out there with 3 toes and it's got a big foot.
Do you think it could be a skunk ape?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
I mean,
You know,
you don't. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I
the,
just
the
gonna say I
legend
don't
of
know.
Boggy Creek, on the legend of Boggy Creek, the folk monster, it had 3
Yeah.
toes.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's what I was getting at too. That's what I couldn't remember a while ago. Thanks, Bobby. But do you think it might be a skunk ape?
I don't know. It's something big. It's
Yeah.
something that can leave a impression that deep in the forest. And like Jimmy said, there's multiple sizes of them
A
because you
breeding
have like a
population.
13, a 15, and a 17, 18 inch. And I have the others. I didn't
Yeah.
think about it because none of these guys reminded me. But I have them up in my loft. I could have gotten them to show that they're all the same. They have the same characteristics across all the different sizes.
Yeah.
Um, it's clearly the same type of creature that made them, whether that creature be a Bigfoot, a skunk ape, a reptilian. I don't know what it is. It's something big and a breeding population of them because we found multiple sizes. We've probably found, what, Jim, 100 or more three-toed prints off the Ocala National Forest. Only
In
tried to
this.
cast the best of them, but we probably found easily 100.
Yeah.
And Jimmy was wrong when he said there's no hog activity outside of those areas because there is. We were on a little Lime Rock Road in the Kubota, and we actually had 2 wild hogs come up to us and start chewing on the tires. So, yeah, there's definitely hogs out there.
Well, what's blowing my mind, of course, is the three-toed. And Florida is pretty much famous for the skunk ape picture that we've all seen. Uh, have y'all seen any kind of evidence or of such as a skunk ape? Because it sounds like to me you're more or less chasing something that looks like more of what I call a classical Bigfoot. Uh, kind of like I've got a theory, of course, that anything that grows up north grows bigger, toward the west grows bigger, south they start to get smaller, and when you come down to Florida, of course, I mean everybody's basing it off the other species of animals like deer and such. Deer are smaller in Florida, and that's kind of why they're basing the skunk ape and possibly Bigfoot being smaller when they see them down there versus say Alabama, Kentucky, on and on and on. Ohio, you know how it goes. I'm sure you've heard all of that. But what really grabs me is the three toes. That, as Richard said earlier, it's hard to just to shove a stick in the ground down there. Am I
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
especially trying to shove something that's got a uh, no roots, and you trying to sit there and watch somebody make a big X with it. Just how much does it weigh to make a print that size that Jimmy just put up there?
Oh, it
A
needs a lot
lot.
of time to do it. We've gone back and grabbed it. I'm roughly 215 pounds, and I grabbed a stick and put everything I could into it, and that doesn't fall over. I could not put past the leaf litter. And yet we find these things shoved into the ground, past the leaf litter, and 3 or 4 inches into the dirt. So it takes the strength. I don't know what they mean. I don't know why it's there, but there's definitely some significance to the structures that we're finding.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna back up on you just a little bit. There's two questions on here that I would like for you to address. Says, can you ask him about the case he is holding off camera, please? Uh, that's from Brian Barber. The cat. Oh, the cast. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, we've already done that. Uh, can you ask what is the most important thing a good group can have, like you guys? Is what's the most important things to you two, or you three, or four?
Big donuts to start.
Big donut.
That's not maybe a screw loose. That's number
Yeah,
two.
crazy,
Yeah, but
crazy.
then I would say Dennis team. It's getting out there, all in the same goal, same focus, and
That's about it. Bobby, what do you think?
Um, Probably being able to get along, being able to be together all day, multiple days, and actually get along when you disagree with something. You have a sensible discussion. Um, you don't get mad. You just basically you work it out. You realize that you're friends, and you might not agree on everything, but you just have to be able to get along. Um, if you don't get along with each other, you- you'll never have any harmony in your group.
Hmm.
That's to me the most important thing. We can all have different opinions as to what we think a Bigfoot is. So we may all three be wrong.
Yeah,
So
well, yeah,
um,
nobody's an expert in this field that we know of.
no, there are none.
Okay, Jimmy, what do you think, bud? What's the most important in it in having a group?
I think probably what I'm going to say gets overlooked a lot. But I think having an open mind is probably one of the most important things, um, because there's so much stuff that people equate to these things. And if you write all that stuff off, something could be right in front of you and you're not even thinking about it because you don't even want to believe it or go down that road. Um, Having an open mind and being aware that these things exist and that they can be around you. I mean, it's just really important to have an open mind about everything that is out there in this subject. Um, you know, focusing on just it's just an ape. Um, you know, just the footprints alone tells you it's not an ape because apes and monkeys don't have feet like this. They have toes that stick out the side. So it doesn't make any sense, you know. But if it's an undiscovered ape, we've got a new ape that's got foot like a human, you know.
Yeah,
Having that open mind um, and being willing to entertain the possibilities because to the general public, Bigfoot's impossible.
yeah, exactly. It's hard enough just to try to have convince them that a Bigfoot exists. Period. You know, just like my buddy Nick Saban Jr. He doesn't follow Bigfoot stuff, and he was asking, "Is there more than one?" But he does. You know, trying to convince people that these things are out there in the woods and you not know it. You know, and it could be. I've done an experiment one time with a group of folks that saw a tree structure. Uh, Basically trying to like a tent, you know what I mean? And on the way back, I tested their skills as of observation. I slid off the back of the group, went into the woods, got ahead of them, and got to a spot where I was basically 10, 12 feet away from them, and I stood there, did not move. Neither one of them, or none of them, saw me. There was probably about like a group of five, and none of them could see me where I was at. And all they had to do was just turn their head, look, there I was.
That's
It's
the thing that the eyes always attract to movement first, movement before color. So if you
yep,
were doing this, they'd see you. But if
yep.
you stand still, people don't see. It's also a military tactic. You know,
Mhm.
just stopping, remaining motionless, and you'll be surprised when things will walk right past you because motion comes first and then color. So
Yeah, we had a gentleman on here too. Who also said, if you're out looking, look for vertical, not horizontal. You know, uh, Jimmy, would you do me a favor, bud?
What you got?
Would you mind telling your story uh, for a few minutes? As everyone knows, I usually take a break about this time. I go smoke me a cigarette. I don't smoke in the house. So, would you do me the pleasure? I'm going to leave Waylon on here to talk to you guys. I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Go ahead, Jimmy, if you don't mind. And you guys want to, Waylon, you know what to do. I'll see you in a few minutes, bud.
I'll give you the cliff notes because I've told this 1,000 times. It's been on TV, on the travel channels. These woods are haunted, so most of the world's known about my encounter. When I was a kid, my mom was married to a Native American, and they used to bounce around a lot, from one place to another place to another place to another place. And we ended up in North Carolina. My stepmother and my stepmom, my stepfather and my mom, they were gone for about 3 days. It was about 3 weeks after we got to North Carolina. When we got there, as soon as we got there, my stepfather said, "Stay out of the woods. There's a hairy man." We didn't think anything about that. Hearing those words together were funny to us. But about 3 weeks later, we're running around the trailer, and we hear this scream. Sounds like a woman getting ripped apart. And so we kind of all get together, go around the back of the trailer. We get probably 7,500 feet from the trailer. Um, and we get to a pine tree about 5 feet from me. There was a crack in the tree. Look up, and the very first branch that was up there was sorry, I got a big burst of rain that just came down. Was about 15 feet up. Looked up, and there was one crouched on the branch. It had its left hand around the tree trunk. Both of its feet were on the branch, slid all the way up against the tree. We made eye contact. It went to stand up, and when it went to stand up, it shifted its weight, and that branch it was on broke, and it dropped all the way to the ground 5 feet from me. When it landed, its knees barely bent. It was like you or I stepping off a curb is kind of how I like to describe it. So it was like a superhero landing. It barely bent. Its knees barely bent. We turned around, ran back to the trailer, and my oldest brother beat us there and locked me and my other brother out. So right outside the back door of the steps that were made out of cinder blocks, there was a old freezer chest, and that was the only thing we had to do. So we got in the freezer chest. This thing walked up to the freezer chest, kind of looked over at us. The top of the freezer chest was like a plexiglass or a glass. It was really weathered and hazed over like an old car headlight. It kind of looked over, leaned over the top. It huffed at us, and it walked away. Then later that night, we were in the bedroom. So that door that goes into the back of the trailer, when you open that door, if you take a right, you're at the end of the trailer, and the bedroom that's at the end of the trailer. We were in that bedroom. Lights were off. They were shining this flashlight toy on across the walls, went across the window, and there was another one standing at the window. The window itself went to the top of the window, was right above the eyebrows, and it went down. The outside of the windows went down the inside of the shoulders, and the bottom of the window went to the upper chest. So it's from the top of its eyebrows to its upper chest. It took up the entire window. If anybody's ever been in a mobile home and knows how high up the top of a window is, if anything, if it was standing up straight, it was 8.5 to 9 feet tall. But this one didn't look anything like the one that fell out of the tree. The one that fell out of the tree was about 6 foot tall. It looked like Caesar from Planet of the Apes with Mark Wahlberg. It had the chimp bubble mouth, and it was built like a swimmer or a basketball player. It was kind of lanky. It followed us back, but it didn't chase us. It just kind of meandered When I look back as we were running, it stopped in mid stride where it was at, and it was black. Again, at the time, this was back in like this was about 44, 45 years ago. The only thing I had to compare it to was the original Planet of the Apes, and that's what it reminded me of as a child. And I knew nothing of Bigfoot. I knew nothing of Yeti. I knew nothing of the Boggy Creek, Patterson Gum, and none of that stuff didn't come till decades later. The one at the window was cinnamon color, and it looked like a really, really old Native American elder mixed with, a gnarly caveman. It had an elder look to it, but it was a little gnarly. But its look in its face didn't change when the light went across its eyes. I was 5 feet away from the window when the light went across its eyes. There was no eye shine right across its eyes. But when it went across its eyes, it made this oh crap look, and its eyes got wide, and that's when I could see the whites of its eyes. So it was only when it opened its eyes really wide. It didn't change its facial features, its mouth, its nose. It didn't grit its teeth. Just the eyes were like, oh crap. And then I jumped over the bed. By the time my feet hit the bed floor, one of those cinder blocks that was made as steps to get up the back door was thrown through our back door. So when we ran past the door, we had to go wait for my mom and my stepfather to get home, and let them know that the hairy man was the thing that just threw the brick through the back door. It wasn't us, because my mom was a very mean, violent, abusive, neglectful, abandonment type of person. So she was the real monster that we had to deal with on the daily. And that's that night when they got home and we told them, my mother and my stepfather had a big knockdown, drag out fist fight in the kitchen. It lasted for some minutes. And then we were there 3 weeks. That night, we packed up all of our clothes, threw them in garbage bags, threw them in the back of the El Camino, and drove back to Illinois.
Welling's a loss for words. uh,
No, that's an interesting story. I was thinking that's a good one. There, the brick through the black door, hell out of there.
Jimmy, I don't know how close you are to your older brother, but I believe I disown him for locking that door.
Yeah, a lot of people said that when they watched These Woods Are Haunted, but what they don't realize is the boy that played me was actually about the age of my brother. We were 2 years apart. So I was 7 or 8, my other brother was 9 or 10, and my other brother was 11 or 12. And I tried to explain to people at 11 or 12, there is no fight or flight when it comes to monsters. It's just self-preservation. So, probably back in a little bit older times, I'm 51, brothers stood for brothers type of thing, but even still, there's a different kind of fear when it comes to these things than a car wreck, than a bear, than an alligator. This is a different kind of fear. And it's just, as an adult, I want to see one. That's my main goal for this, is not necessarily to prove that they're real. I already know they're real. I don't need Patterson Gilman to tell me they're real. I had one almost land on me. They're real. But as a child, I didn't want to look at it. I only seen it for 2, 3 seconds, 4 seconds tops, because it was a monster. I didn't want to look at it. I turn away. You don't want to see monsters are real when you're a kid. But as an adult, I want to be able to preserve it. I want to be able to just look at it, take in detail, and hopefully that by having another sighting as an adult, when I go into real detail about my childhood encounter, it's hard. It affects my whole body, shakes, my throat trembles, my voice trembles, my heart picks up. I get goosebumps. The fear comes back when I go real detailed into it. I'm hoping that if I have an adult sighting, that'll just go away. That trauma will just go away, because that trauma was locked away for years, 2, 3 decades. And it wasn't until I was watching Finding Bigfoot with my son when we lived in Georgia, Matt Moneymaker said that the Native Americans in North Carolina called him the hairy man. That hairy man word unlocked a floodgate of emotions and fear and that was just locked away. And it all hit me at once. When you're not ready for this kind of emotion to hit you at once, it was tough to deal with. It consumed me for about a week. And then that's all I did was look for Bigfoot stuff. Just look and look and look. And then that's when I came in. I went to Waffle House a couple weeks later. I'd be a billionaire and still eat at Waffle House. And they had this paper of a new Bigfoot museum opening up in Cherry Log in Georgia, called the Expedition Bigfoot Museum. And I just looked at my wife and said, "Try and stop me. I'm going." And she's like, "I'm going with you," type of thing. My wife's all in with me. So, and Dave runs an excellent museum up there in Georgia, at Cherry Log, Georgia, at the Expedition Bigfoot. It's a great place. Dave's done a good job with it, and he's putting another location here in Florida as well.
Yeah. So you're basically doing this for therapy.
Yeah, the telling it was therapy at first. I've got I have two older brothers. I have two older brothers. I have an older sister, a younger sister, and a younger brother. My younger sister, my younger brother, and my older sister, they didn't know anything about this. I never told them. We have same dad, different mom situations. So they're all half brothers, no full blood, same mom, different dad, same dad, different mom, type of thing. And my little brother, my whole life was my best friend when he was growing up, and I was his best friend, type of thing. He didn't find out about my encounter until he's seen it on television. My friends didn't find Bobby, been my best friend for 30 years. He didn't find out about it until we were when we joined the same Bigfoot group in Ocala. It's just not something that you tell people.
Yeah.
And it's bad enough to go through the trauma of having the experience, but then going through the trauma of the ridicule after retelling your story. It's another level of trauma. You feel like you have to defend yourself. I'm here to tell people, listen, for whoever's listening, that if they exist, then why doesn't the government know about them? I can send you to a site that shows you that the government knows about them, at least here in the state of Florida. You can Google search Lower Suwannee hunting regulations. It's a government site. And when you pull it up, it's a government site. It says under specific regulations under the hogs. The hog section doesn't change 24/7 all year round. Kill them. Kill them. It doesn't change. It never changes. But in the last line of this paragraph, it says there is no taking of swamp or skunk apes. This is in the 2023 or 2024 hunting regulations, or Lower Suwannee hunting regulations here in the state of Florida. Florida passed a law in 1977 called the HB 58 Act, the Anthropoid Act. An anthropoid is anything human-like. They passed a law saying you can't kill it, you can't trap it, can't hunt it. Then they amended that law in 1978, saying you can't molest it or use it for personal gain. It's called the HB 58 Act. I had the transcripts from the Florida House of Representatives when it was in session. The government knows. The FWC down here knows. They're taking reports of people's sightings and encounters, and I've spoken with an FWC officer who has taken these reports.
Well, what I was getting at, they know. I mean, but I think everybody's waiting on the federal government to do so. And that's what I told people. There are other states that's got laws saying that you cannot shoot a Bigfoot, period. They will take you to jail. Well, I got news for you. You're going to have to say that you're going to have to admit that there's a Bigfoot before you carry my butt to jail. You're going to have to. Well,
in Ohio, they don't have FWC. They have the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, which is like FWC. They have a 5-part podcast about Bigfoot and the existence of Bigfoot and habitat of Bigfoot. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources. They are basically celebrating their existence and putting it out there and not hiding it.
Yeah, and I think that's a great thing. But what I was getting at a while ago with therapy with you, that's dramatizing. And I'll guarantee you, Bobby and Richard and you and probably some folks up there in the chat room, those that have heard it or seen it or have something strange, it changes your normal way of thinking about this subject. And it's kind of, Even if you see it jumped across the road, or if you see it for 5 seconds, you always going to wonder what was that. How can you prove it? And it's, a lot of times, I feel like I'm doing these shows that I'm wanting to learn to see how. I guarantee you, every one of your stories is by chance, by coincidence. You did not go out there and try to find it; it
Yep.
found you. And
And
go ahead, Jimmy.
I was just gonna say, I would say that when you just said that when you have an experience, it changes your view on the subject. I'm here to tell you from my standpoint, when you have an experience, it transcends the subject because you have a new reality to face. You can either accept it
Yep.
or you not accept it. And some people, when they have this experience, it's just too hard to accept because now you got to look at reality differently. What else is out there? What else are we not being told? What what do I need to be looking for? Can I come back again? Is it safe to go in the woods again? Where do I go to find out information about it? It transcends just the subject because now you start thinking, well, damn, are werewolves true? Are vampires real? Well, demons and lizard monsters and I mean the list goes on and on. Mothman. If these are ridiculous, but now they're real and it transcends just the subject. It starts making you question a lot of things about what's really out there. And we know there's other things out there. 100% we know there's other things out there besides Bigfoot.
Yeah. Okay. Old Bear's Den. What do you disagree on, bud? We can discuss it however you want to. Uh, but are you not in agreement, Bobby and Richard and
Where
Waylon?
Well, here's my theory is, people. I've had people tell me you're doing it all wrong and blah blah blah. Here's my line: 99% of reports of sightings and stuff were, like you said, coincidental. Somebody's driving down the road, the thing runs across from them. There was a hiker on a hike, thing walks out the field. Fisherman's fishing, sees it across the pond. The hunter's in a tree stand, and the thing walks out. Not how often does a guy go out there looking for it and see it? And if he does, he's extremely lucky. If he comes to me and says he's done it multiple times, then I'm going to see maybe stands a lot. It's impossible. See what I'm saying? There's people that have multiple times they can see these creatures. Let's see how they're doing. If this one's go to the families and just points it out. And I think it's a numbers game. We spend a lot of time in the woods. Lots.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of that time, we did nothing. We didn't even get evidence. See what I'm saying? And a good one, you find a print, find a structure, find something. To see one, visibly see one walk up in front of you, you got to be at the right place at the right time. See what I'm saying? It's coincidental. That's why it's so hard to film one or get a picture. So you're not prepared for that moment. You're just not prepared at that second. They're just going to walk out. And every time you see one, it's momentary. It is just it's a big sight. So I question a lot of these researchers that get out there, and almost every single weekend they're coming up with something. Oh, here's a picture of him. Here's a picture of him. You know what I mean? We're out there all the time. We're out there all the time. Why isn't it happening less? You spend as much time in the woods as 50 or 40 channels, you're bound to see this. See what I'm saying? And it is a number of them. You got to be out there to find it. You have to be out there to find it. You have to go out there every time, spend time in the woods to get a chance to see it. And I guarantee you, when time happens, it's going to be fast. It's going to be fast. It's going to be brief. You know?
Yeah. Well, just say like Bobby, chance, coincidence. You know what I'm saying, or just being in the right place at the right time. Like you said, he didn't get to see the face. Am I right, Bobby?
No, I didn't. I did not see a face.
But you've seen
I
full body.
basically full body, head to toe. I honestly, it happened so fast. I couldn't tell you if he was facing me or if his back was to me because I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
It seems to me that what I saw was standing, basically, but I couldn't see his face. Um,
But it
I could
changed.
see the body shape, I could see the size, um, but I couldn't make out a face.
But did it not change everything the way you thought? And it's kind of like even for 5 seconds. I mean, it just
I,
changes, it messes with your mind sometimes, does it not?
I I've always, since I was very young, I've always believed Bigfoot was real.
Well, I did too.
Now I know. You don't believe anymore. People say, "Do you believe in Bigfoot?" No, no, I know.
Yeah,
I don't believe. Believe is for people who haven't seen. Once you've seen, you don't believe anymore. You know.
right.
Um, I know. If
And,
you don't believe
here's the
what I
thing.
know, that's
Here's the thing, Bobby. You know for yourself that you've seen what you believe to be a Bigfoot.
Mhm.
Richard, he has to believe you because y'all are friends, and he trusts you. Jimmy's the same way. I guarantee you, Waylon is thinking the same thing, and I am too. But in my point of view, is I know what I saw. I don't know what you guys saw, and from what I saw, and the story that Jimmy told and Richard, and I've got stories with Waylon. Uh, you guys know what you saw, but to prove it to somebody else, it's pretty near impossible. To be honest with you, but deep down inside, there's times on the shows and everything else. I don't just like, man, I ought to just walk away from this and not do it. And, quit thinking about stuff, and then it's always there. I've
Mhm.
saw one. You guys saw one, and you know it. And it doesn't matter what the government says or anybody says over anywhere, for real in your mind that you saw one, and it changes the way that you think about these situations and what else could be out there, like Jimmy said. It just,
Oh,
it kind of,
I know there's other things out there because me and Jimmy saw other things together. And when you're sitting side by side and your shoulders got 3 inches between your shoulders, and you both see something 3 feet in front of you, and you both know damn well what you saw.
yeah.
Um, you don't have to believe each other because you both seen it at the same time. Um,
hmm I just find it strange how it messes with people's minds after they see one. It's kind of a, I ain't gonna say it's a life changing thing. You still get up to go to work the next morning, but there's always that curiosity. I feel
what
like,
else?
what else is
What
out
else is
there,
out there?
and can I create a situation where I can see another one again? Can you do it? It's got to be in you
Well,
guys' minds.
yeah.
You
Yeah, I
know,
mean that's the whole
I
goal is to get to see one when you're prepared to see it and get it on film.
yeah,
But then the minute you do get it on film,
it's gonna be
everybody
blurry.
thinks you're it's going to be blurry. Everybody's going to say you're hoaxing. Oh, it's a guy in a
Yeah,
suit.
yeah. I
So
mean,
one
Everybody's
of
you
quest
go.
is to get it on film, and when it does get on film, nobody believes it. So
You're going to go through ridicule that you've never been through just telling the story that you've seen one. I mean, if you
mhm,
actually get one on film, picture, whatever, man, people are going to eat you alive. You know, the ones that's going to believe you are the ones that's actually seen it
yeah,
before.
yeah.
exactly, exactly. Um,
So one of the things that I've utilized, and one of the things that I do um, when I go out, I kind of learned from Carrie Arnold's mistakes. They've had so many encounters of getting out of the truck and hearing something run off and hearing something scream and hearing a wood knock, but they're not recording. And he would tell everybody ABF or always be recording or always be filming ABF, ABR. Um, so I'm recording before I get out of my vehicle with audio and video. Um, and I also have a pair of sunglasses that I bought off Amazon that's got these micro 4K camera dead center of your glasses on the frame. So whether you're looking and you see something or not, um, or if you do see something, you don't have to take time to get your damn camera out. This thing is up and running as soon as you press the button. and it's recording wherever you're looking. It records audio. The audio isn't great, but it's a recording device for video. I have my 4K shoulder Sony cam, 60 frames per second. It's caught 2 different occasions on film wood knocks. One was from 190 yards away with 3 wood knocks. I was following a path that led me to a footprint. And, I walk around now with plaster in my backpack, and it gets heavy after a bit. And I felt the weight of this plaster when I bent over to clean this print out. It was a great print. When I bent over, I was like, "Oh, damn, that's heavy." And I stood up to try to stretch. And as soon as I stood up, like 4 seconds later, I got 3 wood knocks straight ahead of me. And these wood knocks, you can't duplicate. You can't duplicate these wood knocks. If you're out there in the forest and you take anything natural, you can't grab a green stick, a green log, a dead stick, and hit a tree and duplicate that sound. It at best is a thud, not a knock, like a home run on a wooden bat. We can't duplicate it. We've tried. We've had people with little wooden bats, still can't get that sound. You're literally hitting a bat against a tree and you're just getting a thud at best. We can't figure out what it is they're doing to make these wood knocks sound like they sound. And the only thing I was able to think of is, they're ripping the bark off of these trees and hitting them higher up. Because when you're hitting bark, it just thuds. It don't make that home run sound, with a Louisville Slugger. Rich and some of the other people think that maybe they're doing it with their mouth or they're doing, something, because this tone is the same everywhere you go. I've heard them in 3 different locations now, and it's the same tone. It's the same tone.
Well,
Yeah, that's where I came up with that idea. I was watching videos on gorillas, and they do that counting. You notice they always open their mouth like that when you do it. So I think there's a vocal that comes out when they hit their chest that makes that, It just one day it dawned on me. It's like, what if these things do wood knocks with their mouth, pop, or they, they're physically making that noise. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? Until we see them actually do it. But all the sightings that you see out there, they're not walking around carrying a stick with them. And to find the stick quickly, to hit a tree, we all done it. It's very hard to find the right stick. Now you got to find the right tree. See what I'm saying? You
yeah.
hit the tree and the branch is great, so you're like, I found another stick. You know what I mean? But what if they could do that? What if they could do it vocally? They make this noise so they can communicate in another way. And that's, like Jimmy said, they always sound the same. So it's a very distinct woodknock sound. And maybe that's how I got its term, woodknock, because it's the only thing
It's,
we can associate with.
have you ever had any of them respond to any of your wood knocks? I know you've tried.
I think the best ones that we get are the ones that are spontaneous. We personally don't go out woodknocking. So
Yeah, we don't.
we're walking up there and all of a sudden we hear we just get woodknock. That means it was instigated by them. So it's something. That's what makes it a good woodknock, because you did not do anything. So we usually don't go out there wood knocking and stuff. We have, but to me, it's one of those things at the end of the day when you haven't had a whole lot going on. You just done
You
something.
messing around.
I'm gonna hit a tree, and nobody can howl like Jimmy Bond. Jimmy can do a howl that will you can hear it 3 states over. He's a singer in a rock band. He's got lungs. He's got this unbelievable pitch. So he'll do that every once in a while. We'll look at Jimmy and say, Jimmy, do a call, man. Do a call. He'll get every coyote, every fox, whatever in a mile is howling back at us.
Well, let's put it this way. We've already got requests for Jimmy to do a howl. We've got we got so many to ask him about the pig you found. And before we get into that, I'm going to say I have done wood knocking and was successful. And how I knew for sure I done a three knock, and I got almost an immediate response. And I done it, just in case, because you're in heels. You kind of wonder if it was an echo effect. I done the next one twice instead of three, and I got a three knock right back just almost immediately. I said, "Okay, there's something going on. It's time for me to go to the house," because I was by myself at place in the woods. I didn't particularly care to be by myself. You know,
Right.
that's the end of that. I never done a wood knock after that. Okay, what about this pig? Not so perfect has been asking this question for quite a while. I'm sorry, it's just the guys are so good at tonight. It's not so perfect. I'm missing quite a few questions. Old Bear said something about he disagreed that you can't go out and see a Bigfoot. No, I agree with you, Old Bear. I believe it can be done. It's just so hard. They're so daggum sneaky and hiding, and we're so clumsy out there in the woods. I think half the time we spook them off before we get out of a truck. Uh, uh,
The
I think
yeah,
pig.
no, don't
just,
go, man. That's all I'm gonna
The
tell you. Man
pigs.
says he's going
We
camping.
didn't.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We didn't find a pig.
no, I
Me and
think
Jimmy were on my Kubota. Um, we were running.
He's talking
We're
about
running
Rich, Bob.
around.
He's
Oh,
talking about
Rich
Rich.
found a pig.
Yeah, he's talking about Rich and Sebring. Yeah,
Okay.
Oh yeah,
she's
I
she's
thought she was
she's
talking
talking.
about the pig that bit our Kubota tires.
Yeah, no, she's talking about Rich.
Rich, tell your story.
we had gone in this one area and had a guy with him, and we had pushed pretty far back, further than we had gone in this particular area. And as we were going through there, I smelled this horrible dead animal smell. And I was like, man, that's horrible.
His natural musk.
It's a good thing y'all are friends, right?
So we were walking around, and I told the guy with us, do you smell them? Do you smell them? And I said, it's got to be a dead animal, so I'm going to look around for it. And as soon as I said it, and I turned to my right, there was a dead pig, 10 feet from me. But it was a fresh pig. See what I'm saying? It wasn't decayed and maggoted up or anything like that. It had flies on it, and that was about it. But what was interesting about it was only about a 20-pound pig, but the back legs were broken. And I've got it on film. As a matter of fact, it's one of the videos where I do one of those graphic things. Be careful watching this because it is kind of gross to see a dead animal. But the back legs were broken. So that's when I was sitting talking to myself. I don't know what animal out there would break the legs and just leave it there. See what I'm saying? A panther, a bobcat, or a bear, anything that hunted this hog, this pig, would have walked off with it. Would have killed it and just walked away with it. But the legs were broken and it was just laying there. It was either the following or 2 weeks later, Jimmy came in. So we go back to that area, and there's no signs of any dead animal, period. There's no bones, there's no hair, nothing. It's like something back, took it, and it was gone. The exact location where this thing came from, same location. So I don't know what it was. It's very strange. It's the only hog that we have hog activity out there.
Yeah.
Not as big as some of the other areas. You don't see it so much in this area, but it's there. That's the first hog that I've seen since I've been here. See plenty
So
here and
so
stuff.
Rich, I want you to say, because I'm bad with remembering that area. When we went back to where the hog was and it wasn't there, is that where the two new arches were?
Correct.
There were
Yeah,
two new arches right above it.
correct. There is this tiny trail that I know for a fact me and this guy pulled that trail to get back to where we come from after we found the bird. When Jimmy came back, what was it, a week? It was at least, I know it was no more than 2 weeks later.
Yeah, I think it was 2 weeks.
Yeah, Jimmy had came, and there was two arches over that trail that were not there before. We would have noticed it. I looked at the guy that was with me. I said, dude, he walked through weeks ago, and he's like, yeah, because it was not there because we did not see these arches. And Jimmy took some time. He looked at those arches, and it's very interesting area. Very interesting. It's a place that the last couple of videos I did also went back kind of in the same area, but probably three three to 500 yards more to the left of it. I'm finding more arches, very intricate arches where these trees are different angles, different locations, stretched across, and the branches are intertwined to hold them down. Um, I try to disprove. That's what's good about the guys and stuff. We try to disprove before they'll say this is interesting. We try to disprove it. If I can't disprove it, I'm going to tell you, I have no answers. I even ask my subscribers if anybody has a good explanation for this, I'm more than happy to hear it because I do want an explanation. But
Yep.
until then, it's what do you think it is? What do you think is creating these artists? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We make it very clear we do not call anything Bigfoot related unless we saw Bigfoot here. See what I'm saying? So we bring the anecdotal evidence, we bring it, we show it, but we let the subscriber, we let the viewer, we let the person looking at this make up their own mind. We're not here to force anybody to believe or not believe. We leave it up for them.
Yeah. You also bring them and leave them questions. Let them question what you're showing them. You know what I mean? All right, guys.
The message and said, "Oh, you said that was the Bigfoot." Not one
That's right.
time. You're coming up to your own conclusion. See what I'm saying?
Okay. Before we forget, we got to hear it. I hope Jimmy is not bashful. Jimmy, can you give us that holler that everybody's been talking about? Or would you mind to?
Just gonna wake up some people.
Is that no? Did he fall off?
I don't know, but he
He's
might have.
clearly stepped away somewhere.
Oh shoot! I had the daggum thing muted.
There you go.
I gave the whole excuse. I gave the whole reason why no is a no. It's late now. I'm in a gated community. I've got
Oh,
older
okay.
neighbors to the left and right of me, and we're pretty close together.
I understand.
Literally, I could take 3 steps and walk into my neighbor's side of their house. It's where we're all bunched in here together.
But not a problem.
But
Not a
I
problem.
wanted Bobby's kind of help on this. So when we first started doing this in Ocala, and we went out to an area and we started coming across this hair, and we were getting all kinds of hair. We were getting so much hair. I was putting it in both my pockets. I was taking my phone out and putting the hair behind my phone in the phone case. So here in Florida, we were thinking, there's no way there's a Bigfoot out here going through chemo. There's so much hair out here, and we were like, this is just too much. This can't be hair. There's got to be something else. And we looked and we looked and we looked and we couldn't find it. And it took Bobby forever to find it. But Bobby found what it's called, and it's mostly on scrub oak and live oak. Pretty much almost only on scrub oak and live oak, unless it's blown off. And I'll let Bobby tell you what it is. I'm kind of curious if you guys have that over there in Alabama too, because this is a good learning, teaching experience for researchers that are here in the state of Florida. We can walk into my gated community and I can find it on the trees here, and I know that there's no Bigfoot running around in my neighborhood. Go ahead, Bob.
It's horsehair fungus. That is the technical name for it. It's horsehair fungus, or maybe not the technical name, but that's what it is.
Lichen horsehair fungus?
I actually think it's just called
horsehair
fungus.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd never heard of it ever. Yeah, there is a more technical name for it, but let's stick with horsehair fungus. I can't pronounce it.
But it's everywhere.
But
It's
it
everywhere
looks like
down
hair.
here.
It
Yeah.
looks like
One of our
6 or 8 inch hair, balled up, knotted. I I live on 10 acres of scrub forest, and I could take you around and show you all the places that the Bigfoot comes around my house because there's hair in all the trees. And I actually do mess with people when they start talking about Bigfoot and they say, "Oh no, they're not real." I say, "No, come here, I'll show you some hair." And I take them right to a tree and show them hair, and the look on their face is like, "Okay, maybe I was wrong." But it looks like hair. It doesn't smell like hair when you burn it. When you put it under a microscope, it doesn't look like hair. But to your eyes, when you find it hanging in a tree, you just think you hit the jackpot because you got 6, 8, 10 inch black hairs and just balls of them and knotted up. And it's abundance.
And the reason I bring it up is because if you're a new researcher or you want to be a researcher and you're going out and doing this, and say you come across what you think might be a print, and then you got what looks like could be a structure, and then you find this hair, and you were like, "There's no doubt the pieces they all fit." You know, it's just got to be aware of what actually is out there, what nature is providing you. And that horsehair fungus threw us for a loop, man. We thought we were going to get a hold of Melba Ketchum and we were going to have the next huge study. We had a bucket of this stuff, man. We had so much of it that we were like, this can't be real. This
Yeah,
absolutely can't be real.
once
It's
you've
just too much.
collected enough of it, once you've collected enough of it, you kind of know that
This
this
is
is
not it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Hey, but the thing about it is, guys, you're going to have stuff like that. You know, it's what you think it is, and then you find out later. But at least you guys admit you got to do that. You got to.
Yeah.
If it's
Yeah.
not a real footprint, hey, it's not a real footprint. Keep looking. You know what I mean? All right, guys, I'm gonna take a
Mhm.
smoke break. Uh, somebody's wanting to know. Okay, not so perfect wants to know what's your favorite field story, Bobby, and I'll be right back. Okay, guys, I can still hear you, so I'm staying up with you. Okay.
God, I don't know. Probably my personal best day in the field was the day that me and Jimmy discovered the three-toed footprints. Um, we found the one. We immediately decided we have to cast this. Um, so we of course documented it. We've got pictures of it where we've got it kind of framed out in sticks, and we're taking pictures and measuring. Then we poured the plaster in it. Now, as we're waiting, we start meandering around looking for other things, and we find several more three-toed footprints. To me, that was, I don't know, that was just a very, very good day in the field. And
The Kubota ride was kind of jacked up too.
the Kubota ride, that, I ain't sure that was a good day, Jim.
No.
I ain't sure that was a good day.
Yeah.
Uh, Another impressive one, in my opinion, was the day that we were down at Corbett, I think it was, and we found the 22.5 inch print. We found three 22.5 inch prints. Um, and those were probably my favorite days in the field. And the Kubota ride was just a day I'll never forget in the field. And that's kind of all I got on that. So
I think
next,
you think that they actually have you really thought about? I mean, I thought about it. As big and strong as they could take their hand, do that. I mean, but I agree with somebody they can't do it because they're so like so big. Do it with their mouth. I really do. I think they make the pop sound with their mouth.
they may, or they may smack it with their hand, or maybe you can't duplicate the sound because you're not hitting the tree hard enough. You're not physically capable of hitting the tree hard enough. Until somebody sees them do it and gets it on video, it's all speculation. Uh, they could be clapping their damn hands. They could be using their mouth. They could be slapping one another. We don't know.
No, we don't know. Like as big as their hands are, and as big as some of them get. I mean, it's you can make a lot of noise. My dad was a big guy, and he had big hands. He could clap his come all through a big 5,000 square foot house. That's what a
Yeah, yeah,
sound he can make with his hands, and him just to put. I don't know, 280 or 90 pounds. He could hands where. I mean, it's hard to believe, but it can
wow.
happen. Yeah, he could do it. I know he could. I saw him do it. He just. I mean, my daddy would do it just to aggravate the crap out of him, but I mean, he could do it. I mean, but I can't. I don't have hands that big, so.
All right, guys, I got to take a moment and bring up a subject real quick, because it is kind of getting, it ain't too late, but we're still good. Squatch and Holler. Uh, Roger is going to be on next week, guys. Anybody come listen to this guy? He's a very nice guy. He's agreed to come on next week. And the reason, one, I like him. I want him on. But they're having a meet and greet, guys. I don't know if you've heard about this in the LBL, Land Between the Lakes. And they're having a big meet and greet. And let me look at my calendar real quick. But if you can, go catch Squatch and Holler. It's Roger's channel. It's a good channel. I like it. They are going April, I believe, the 5th, 6th, and 7th. And if he's still on here, he can correct me on there if I'm wrong. But I believe it's 5th, 6th, and 7th. That there is a lot of people that runs these channels, and a lot of big names is going to be there. It's pretty much like the Super Bowl with Bigfooters. So if anybody's interested in going, get in contact with them and go share some stories. They're gonna have campfires, and I don't know if they're gonna do any kind of expedition or outings as far as trying to find something. I don't know if that's what they're trying to do, but it does sound like a good time amongst a bunch of Bigfoot dogmen type guys. It should be a lot of fun. But anyways, yeah, check out Squatch and Holler and catch him next week on this channel. We'll probably come on about 7 o'clock. I think we already agreed to that, and it should be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. All right, guys, let's see here. Sorry about all that, but I had to get that out there just in case. I could have slapped a taste out of my mouth. Now, I brought up a while ago the idea of sticks, and the reason I done that, Richard, is because I found one, and it was about I'm gonna say about 2 foot long. It wasn't much longer than that. It might even been a little shorter. But I found one straight up, and on one end of it was a jagged edge, and it broke and split it. You could tell it was new wood. And the other end of it, it was I'm gonna say about 5.5 inches deep of black dirt. That was, it was a dirty stick, and the end of it was perfectly rounded. That closer inspection of it, you could see just like little wood fuzz on it. My assumption was the same as yours, that it was digging grubs and worms or something like that. And I happened to find it by chance. And what I mean by chance, I'm not going to tell my story right now. Anyways, I basically just walked out in the woods and just happened to look down at the right place at the right time. And there's this stick standing straight up out of the ground. And when I pulled it up, because the broke end was sticking up, the other end was rounded and dirty. And I could not figure out why anybody would plant a stick like that straight up and down. It wasn't at an angle. I just about ran over the thing when I found it, and I was walking. But that I've always been curious about, because I've never heard anybody else say anything about the sticks. Nothing. But anyways, you guys, to me, have a problem. You're so ate up with palmettos and not what I call a lot of thick woods like they are in Alabama. You know what I mean? I'm one of them firm believers that Bigfoot and whatever likes the canopy.
You get that. We have a lot of really, really, really good tips. Really good. You get to some people that are research for video. We did the video.
Stepped into the woods and disappeared. You know, our pine forests are cypress areas. They're it's so massive you couldn't walk through them without bumping into trees. I mean, it's just very very thick. We have a lot of areas, um, huge areas that are like one place we go to. It's probably 90,000 acres, and it has multiple ecosystems going on at the same time. So you could be in swamps, or you could be in the thick forest, or you could be in a palmetto field. So we have it all. We have a lot. But the big thing about palmettos is that's a food
Oh yeah.
source.
You
Do
know,
y'all have? Go ahead. Jim.
I was just gonna say when me and Richard were out at Sebring, I think our very first time we went out there. Um, and as we were turning to leave, after we found an arch that was stabbed, it had a Y stick stabbing the end of the arch into the ground and wedging it down. We went to leave, and as soon as we about broke the tree line to get on the open trail, we were grunted at behind. And and it was multiple, like 10, 12 grunts, ooh, 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 really loud. It sounded like a gorilla, really did. Um, you know, the only place it could have been hiding was in the palmettos in the distance, and it sounded like it was really close. Richard, because I had parabolics on and my back was away. My back was to the noise, and the parabolics was facing the opposite direction, but I could still hear it outside of my headphones. Um, so, and then other places that we've gone, like in Hungryland, when we did the 168 with Kerry Arnold, we got if Kerry could have found the footage before he passed away, it would have been the new Ohio How. It came right out of the palmettos. It could have been 60 yards from us. There was there were five of us there. Chris Noel was there, Blake and Chad and me and Mikey. All heard it. It was insanely loud, and it was yelling. We think it was yelling at two of the guys that were kind of having a dispute or disagreement, so to speak, very loudly. And this thing just yelled at them, like, knock it off. But it would have been the new Ohio How. And it came out of the palmettos. So we've had pine cones thrown at us in the same location, coming over, green pine cones coming over our shoulders, but they're coming out of the palmettos. It's so thick in there. What average normal human being in their right mind is just going to go wandering through there? It makes sense to hide in there.
Yeah. Well, be lucky you ain't got a bunch of rocks.
We've had
Be
rocks.
thankful.
We had a rock come out of the same palmettos on the 168, and a heat signature as well on thermal. That was all a part of that documentary thing. And again, out of the palmettos, it's almost impossible for them to avoid them in certain places. And it's also a place that we're not going to go in for no reason, so it makes sense.
Yeah, well, what I was getting at that you guys have trouble is because it's so thick.
Yeah.
The palmettos, like we was talking about the rattlesnakes earlier. It's a wonder one of you guys ain't stepped on one. You know what I mean? And being so thick, you can hide. What are y'all videos? I looked at it, and I think one of you guys was like 30 feet away into the palmettos. You couldn't see him.
Yeah.
You could have sat there all day long. And that's what I'm saying. You're going to have more of a problem than say somebody in Kentucky or Alabama, because we have the oaks that are a little bit more. If they're not verge line, and basically on verge line, you've got your transitions where you got brush at the edge of woods that get thick and stuff like that. Your best chance is when the leaves fall and all that, to basically look right into the woods. You know where I'm going with that. We have a better chance of spotting one than say y'all do in palmettos, because they're everywhere.
Yeah, you're right about it. We also found that thermal has been a problem for us as well, because the wild trees, the palmettos, everything's holding on to that day heat much longer. And so everything's lit up at nighttime through thermal because it's holding on to that heat much longer down here in Florida. You know, when you
Okay.
guys are up there, you know, in the wintertime when the leaves are down and it's cold, you can see through all the woods, you can find something that's hot. Here in the wintertime, it's only like 6 or 8 weeks of where we can rely on a thermal, but then everything's so thick that you have a hard time finding anything anyway.
Yeah, that's guys. I see y'all really have a hard time doing it down there, but I'm glad of y'all's persistence. And by the way, before we even try to think about getting off here, I wanted to put this up here. Uh, there we go. Guys, if you didn't know or haven't realized, these guys have a channel. I would like to see them do more myself. It is BFGG Bigfoot Research, and you can find it, if nothing else, by at BFFG Bigfoot, lowercase letters, research. Easiest way to find them is the bottom one, I think. But anyways, you can find them pretty easy. Would like for you guys to go check them out and see what they're doing. I find it very interesting when I've watched them. I got to see about 3 or 4 of y'all's videos. I love it, love it. But anyways,
Yeah,
guys,
we
check them out. Go
things
ahead.
on. We've had some exciting things on there. Very exciting.
Hmm.
There's always certain videos that stick out more in your mind. You know, some people say, "Hey, you know, what do you got?" Oh, you got to go look at this video. Oh, you got to go check out this video. You know what I mean? So there's certain ones that really, really stick out that I can rewatch. You know, because it's one. It's the thing.
Yeah, oh, and you can pick up little bitty things here and there, that
Well, that's
uh,
where this keen eye comes in because I'll film. So I'm too busy filming. I'm looking at the camera to make sure I've got everything there, and I'm looking around. And Jimmy, on a couple occasions, has gone back and frame by frame go through the videos and find something that we
mhm,
know, and we'll do a quick. We'll narrow that film down to that, and do just film and just say, check this out. You know what I'm saying? So we are finding some pretty interesting things out there. Um, but it's sometimes it is things, and that's why we tell the subscribers all the time. Look, guys, if y'all see something, let us know. Let us know. We'll be happy to go back and look for it and see if there was something there. You know, um, like the one you were talking about with the eye shine. That was the video where it says we were surrounded. We were surrounded by growls. We don't know what they were, but we were surrounded by growls. Well, Jim went back and took that video and I we went back many months later, but we went back to that exact same location to rehat. And Jimmy was able to find the exact spot where the camera was, everything. And then we went back and did an investigation on ourselves, on what we experienced that night. And that night was about 8 feet tall. So we go back.
And the eyes were at least 6 inches apart, at
Yeah,
least.
yeah. Whatever, it was pretty large. In the video, you don't see it because I'm only wearing a headlamp, and that headlamp only probably goes out 10 feet. See what I'm
yep,
saying? This
yep.
was definitely further back than my headlamp would reach, but it was enough that it just caught Aisha. And Jimmy was able to go through it and find it. You know what I mean? That same day we went back to do the investigation, we found prints. And what was odd about it was I'm over here looking at something, and then Jimmy's over here looking at something, and then Jimmy says, "Hey, Rich, come over here and look at this." So we go over, and he's showing me a footprint. So we go ahead and we do the measurement and all that. I said, "Well, come look at this over here. It's another footprint, 10, 15 feet away.
Same side.
Same measurement. Exact." So, you got to ask yourself what made it, because if a hog made it, he's really good about getting the exact same measurements every time. So we do the width, the length, and they do the same. And this is back into the woods from where we were, originally when it happened when we were camping. So it's very interesting. We're willing to go back and relook and check things out and stuff like that. Like I said, it's exciting times. This year is already starting off really good. So I'm looking forward to the future and what other things that we find. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, guys, I guess we need to get out of here. And Old Bear, there's many things about Bigfoot and their capabilities of surviving in different climates throughout the United States, and not just United States, guys. You know what I'm saying? They're all over the place, that we just don't understand. Basically, a lot of times the things I say, I have to base it off of where I live and the things that I've seen and been through. So don't think that, I'm all, you got to have these big old tall trees and all this and that kind of stuff. No, I'm not that way. I'm just kind of curious, like these guys from Florida, they have a different environment, and how they can hide and sneak around and where they sleep and all that kind of stuff is going to be different than what they do in Alabama versus, say, a place as Texas or California or even up in the north. It's going to be different. And that's why I ask these kind of questions. But, anyways,
Hey,
guys,
Icebox. Hey,
yes,
Icebox.
sir. Yes,
Hey,
sir.
before we go, can I have Richard talk about what's coming up in June? He's got something coming up in June that might be cool for him to talk about.
Absolutely, man. Would love for him to. Richard, go ahead, bud.
Well, I wasn't going to bring it up because there's a lot of moving parts, but Bigfoot Forest Giants is meeting up with another research group out of state to do a joint investigation in a very, very, very interesting area. So I definitely encourage people to stay tuned and see what we find.
Yeah,
I
that's in
don't.
April. I'm talking about what's in June.
June. We have the Cala Bigfoot Conference is coming up in June. So if anybody wants to come and meet Bigfoot Forest Giants and say hi, we'll be there. I think it's June 8th. Is it June? But we'll be there. Gives the people an opportunity to meet us and talk to us and stuff like that. We love to hear people's stories and stuff, and that'd be awesome. Stay with our channel. And they can reach us at bigfootforestgiants@gmail.com if they want to tell us an experience, especially if they're in Florida. If they would like us to come out and meet them and investigate an area that they think they have some stuff going on, we'd be more than happy to do that.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Down in Florida, when you go to this conference, whatever you're doing, just take your phone with me. We'll link up and you can walk me around. How's that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So buy that for me. Buy that for me. Okay, good. All right, guys. I guess we'll get out of here. I hate to. I really do. I love this stuff, and I'm sure y'all do too. And I'm sure you got other things that you could tell us, but if we're running up on 2 hours, you know how that goes. Jimmy, you got anything else you'd like to say before we get off here?
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the invite. Appreciate it. It's always nice to meet new people in the field and get to know people and make new friends, man. So I appreciate it.
No, it's my pleasure, man. Y'all were great. Richard?
They're awesome. Love them to death. And, the channel's growing. We're very happy. And it's all because of them. They're very important to us.
Yep, they are. Bobby?
I'm just going to go with what Jimmy said. I agree with him on that. Thank you guys for the invite. Never heard of your channel, honestly, until Rich brought it up. He sent me a link. I watched some of your videos. You guys do good stuff, and I really enjoyed being on here tonight.
We enjoyed having all three of you. We really did. That's why I wanted to come on early so I could get everybody's input. Waylon's like I said, my partner in crime. He comes up with stuff that I can't come up with. But we enjoyed having you guys. And if you don't mind, if later on down the road, can I call you guys back up and come back on again? Would that be good?
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Let's do it during the daytime where Jimmy can howl, right? All right, guys, I appreciate it. I really do. I enjoyed this. I really had a good time. I will say again, next Saturday or next Sunday. I apologize. We're going to have a guy from Squatch and Holler. His name's Roger. We're promoting the meet and greet and then the LBL, and y'all come back and see us. Whether you got anything else before we get out of here, bud?
Like I told anybody, if y'all got any stories, encounters, whatever, I'll leave my email in the comments and send them, and I'll be glad to read them. I'll leave your name out of it or put your name in it. Whatever you want to do, that's left up to you. So glad to read them for you. Glad to have y'all guys tonight. Be safe down in Florida, okay?
All right, guys. What other people we need to thank, and that is the chat room. I know Richard, Jimmy, and Bobby. All you guys know about the chat room. It's hardly not as fun as it could be. You know what I'm saying? And we want to thank the chat room. Anybody over there on my side, guys, make sure you go check. I'm gonna put it up here one more time, guys, before we get out. There's the link for their channel. They may have some Facebook stuff. I don't know, but they can take care of you from there. But this is where you go to find these gentlemen. I've been there several times. I love it. It's great stuff. And guys, that's it. We will get out of here. And I appreciate you guys. I've really thoroughly enjoyed it. All right, guys. We'll see y'all next Sunday. Y'all come back and see us. Appreciate it, guys.
Take care.